Geek Legion of Doom really is the thinking man's channel.
Scarecrow, A Curse Never Dies. Directed and co-written by Ben Dixon. This one also known as Dark Harvest 3. The Dark Harvest movies that came out, I think 2004, are actually three unrelated movies, all to do with kind of like the Midwest and kind of cornrows and scarecrows and stuff. So they were just kind of lumped together as a series, but they have no connection to one another. Anyway, so Scarecrow, spelled SK, or Dark Harvest 3. What's the story with this one? It focuses on a group of 20-somethings who are going to this farmhouse in this kind of rural area that is one of their group's kind of relations, it's been in their family, and they kind of go in there for, a little bit of R&R. And we learn in some flashbacks that there was some dark shenanigans that have gone on in this area where someone was kind of buried beneath a scarecrow, and now this scarecrow is coming back for revenge against people related to this kind of family that killed him. We also have some weird locals that seem to be around this area that are not especially friendly and a little bit kooky. What'll happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So there are three Dark Harvest movies, and this is not to be confused with the 2020's Dark Harvest movie. Were not well received. Let's just put it like that. They were kind of like seen as cheap, shot on video, throwaway kind of independent movies. I hadn't actually seen the third one until now. I had it on Region 1 DVD once upon a time, but I couldn't actually watch it because my player didn't play it. But I'd seen the other two, and I just found this one on YouTube, so I thought I would complete the trilogy. Now, what can we say that works in this movie? Now, unlike the second film, it does actually feature a killer scarecrow, which didn't feature in the second movie. And I will say, and this is going to sound like a real backhanded compliment, I have seen worse looking killer scarecrows in movies. Now, it is just a guy with a kind of like, a kind of a burlap sack and things like that. But I actually didn't think it looked too bad, to be honest with you. It kind of looked like it would be what you would put up on a plinth or whatever, and to be used as a scarecrow. They've kind of given him contact lenses, and you can kind of see through the sack and stuff like that. So I didn't think the actual scarecrow looked all that bad, I have to say. Nothing special, but certainly not terrible. There's some kind of like cheap, I'll call it fun rather than good, sort of practical gore here. It's obviously on the cheap, silly side, but you can kind of have a little bit of fun with, blood being squirted over our actors and things like this, and heads of mannequins being knocked off and stuff. It isn't technically good, but I kind of liked it in a fun, cheap, schlocky way. But I am somewhat used to watching low budget, silly movies, to be honest with you, B movies. So there was some kind of fun to be had with, some of the kind of the effects. Believe it or not, there's one or two actually fairly decent lines. There's one line that I thought was really good where they're kind of like the gas station and everything, and there's a kind of weird local, and he sort of knows their names, or knows one of their names, and one of the girls says, is he psychic? And one of the guys says, more like psychotic. And I thought, that's not a bad line. So there's kind of a couple of lines here that I thought were okay. It might feel like I'm scraping the barrel here, to be fair. But yeah, I'll give credit where credit is due. The movie is kind of relatively short and kind of quite punchy in regards to its kind of pace. It doesn't kind of take too long before the action kind of gets going, and it doesn't kind of overstay its welcome. So, that's what I've got to say that works in this movie's favour. But what doesn't work? So let's talk about some of the characters first of all. So we have this kind of group of these like 20-year-olds, and you know, sometimes you often criticise movies for having unlikable characters, but man, this one takes the biscuit. These characters just seem to argue and literally fight each other the whole way through this movie. I mean, this is meant to be our group of protagonists, but they seem, you know, to varying degrees, a real unlikable bunch of people. I mean, some of them are kind of meant to be, but nonetheless, they just argue constantly, and they're kind of bickering and sometimes even kind of pushing each other around, and one guy's kind of like hits his girlfriend and stuff, and it's just kind of like, it's just a bunch of absolutely dreadful people, to be brutally honest. And you know, you can't really root for them because you just don't care, because they are not. There's not even one character that is particularly kind of you know, one where you can really gravitate to. Even the kind of like the more sort of less abrasive ones are not especially kind of like likable. So that's the first problem. The second problem, I've got to be honest, the acting isn't particularly strong here, as you'd probably going to expect in a movie like this. It's not strong acting. As I said, there's a couple of lines where I thought were alright. And, you know, look, it's a low-budget B-movie. It's kind of, to a degree, it's what you're going to expect. But it isn't good if we are looking at it through a critical lens. So I can't really say the acting is great. Some of the technical elements here are on the weaker side. It's some odd editing choices. I think the cinematography is a little too dark. I mean, it does take place at night largely, but you know, there were scenes here I think I just can't see what's going on. And this is the problem with kind of like shot and video sometimes in sort of like the darker scenes and stuff. But it's underlit, and again, it's a very low budget movie. Some of the editing choices are a bit rubbish, as I say. The actors sometimes talk over each other as well, so you do kind of miss dialogue. So it just seems a little bit chaotic in regards to how this kind of movie was made. The story itself is clearly influenced by the Evil Dead. They even have that kind of like POV shot a couple of times, and there's a Necronomicon sort of style book, so it's clearly obviously influenced by Evil Dead, but it obviously doesn't come close to anything like as inventive or as memorable as the original kind of Evil Dead movie. So it just kind of feels like a little bit more of a pale comparison in sort of many ways. As I say, I actually didn't mind the Scarecrow, but you know, it's faint praise. The Scarecrow is not exactly particularly scary, and it's not in it as much maybe as you would think. I think they kind of underuse the Scarecrow to a degree. We spend far too long with our characters bickering or having flashbacks, all these kind of locals, and really less time on our Scarecrow, who is almost played for laughs in a couple of scenes, but I think unintentionally. There's a scene where it's actually the first victim, where a couple are having sex in this barn, and the Scarecrow's like behind the woman who's kind of in the cowgirl position, if you like, and he's just kind of doing this behind her and stuff. And it's like, what are you doing? And like, so she's not seeing him, and she's just like, he's just there, kind of like wiggling his fingers around. It's like, so what are you doing? So yeah, it's just ill-judged. So the movie really is very messy. There's not really much I can say that is a general positive here. There's a couple of things, if you're a low budget B movie fan, you might find, you know, on the kind of the fun side to a degree. And I kind of quite like some of the kind of the fun cheapy effects, but I would say they're fun rather than good. I'm going to have to give this one a 3 out of 10. It is not a good film. I still had, you know, I watched it kind of like without like looking at my phone and stuff, but you know, 3 out of 10 is really the best I can kind of give this one. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Damn it. No, I do not look like Leo from Geek Legion of Doom, people.